What's up YouTube? Way back in the early alpha of Arma 3, I created a tutorial showing you how to put every item and weapon in-game into a crate so that you could play with Arma 3's assets fairly easily. Up until last week, when I deleted all of my old videos, that was still one of the most popular videos. In fact, I think it was the most popular video that I had on my channel, despite it being very outdated. With the addition of Bohemia Interactive's virtual arsenal, it's now much easier to play with Arma's weapons, so I'm gonna do a quick tutorial basically showing how to create your own virtual arsenal in an ammo box on a map so that you can play with it as you wish. So firstly, I'm in the Arma 3 editor. If you don't use the Arma 3 editor very often, you might be confused why it looks like this. Basically, that you've got two options, layouts in the editor, and I always use traditional. It's much easier to find what you need, I think. So if you're having trouble following it, switch to traditional before you watch, and it will ask you to restart your editor, but I don't need to do that. Right, so firstly, before you can add any crate, you need to add a player. So let's just create a civilian, and there you go, that is now the player, which gives you access to the rest of the items. So we want to choose an ammo box. I'm going to go with the cargo net. Now when you first place down the cargo net, it does actually have items already in it, so I mean, it's not going to make a difference to your arsenal, but if you want it to look a little bit more polished, you can remove all of this stuff, which I am going to do. So basically, this is the items initialization field. This is where you type any code that relates to the item. There's two ways to execute code, more than two ways, but two basic ways is in the initialization field and in the SQF file. For the case of this video, we only need to use the initialization field, which is much easier. So basically, this is the code we're going to need to run, and I'll just run you through what that means. The top line is clearing all of the items from the cargo. Now, an item is defined as anything that isn't a weapon or magazine, so things like attachments would fall into that category. The second line is clearing the weapons from the crate. Third line, clearing the cargo from the crate. And this final line is what executes the virtual arsenal. It will add an option to the crate when you go and use your mouse wheel to jump into the arsenal. Excuse me. So if we just preview, we can see that you run over to the box, you now have the option to use the arsenal. The first lines have emptied the crate, so there's no messy items in there now, and you just click on the arsenal. That will launch the arsenal as it's meant to be. If you've never used the arsenal before, it's fairly easy to pick up. You go down through the categories, add or remove items as you wish. You can save loadouts and reload them again. So once you've done this once, all of your game modes will have that saved. And that's basically that. A few other things I want to show that I think are very helpful. This first one is if we grab a vehicle, any vehicle that you want, and dump the same code in the initialization field, you can actually add the arsenal to that vehicle. To be useful if you're making a mission and you want the player to be able to take unlimited items with them and change up the armory at any time. So of course, if you were playing around on the Arma map and you wanted to drive somewhere and be able to take your arsenal with you, you can stick that code in the vehicle and then you'll have it with you at all times. The final thing I want to show you is if you go back into the arsenal and create yourself a loadout. I've already created this one, so if you export, that'll then copy the code for that loadout to your clipboard. So back in the editor, if we dump another character nearby and put the code that we've just copied into its initialization field. Let's try that again because I've just created a vehicle. Yep, put the code into the initialization field, you'll find then is that the character will then have the loadout that you're exported, which speeds up mission making a lot if you can just jump into the arsenal, create exactly what you want a character to look like, export the code and dump it in the field. So I hope this has been helpful. I'll probably make a video more closely to the original one where it shows you how to put individual items into a crate as well if you don't want players to have access to absolutely everything. But as far as getting to play with Arma's assets and learning how everything works, what it's all about, this is a great way to do it. So thanks for watching, everyone.